Hey friends, it's Miss Nicole here. Today I will be reading a story about ice before we head into our Icy Art projects. So, without further ado, the story I will be reading is called Ice Boy, and this is by David Ezra Stein. I hope there's not much of a glare here for you. I don't want it to be too difficult to see the pictures. All right, we all ready? Everybody put their listening ears on, because here we go. Ice Boy had a normal life. Morning, everybody. Morning, Dad. Up and at 'em, he said. Goofing around with his brothers and sisters, dodging tough cubes from the back of the freezer. Yikes! Up here he says, "Don't lick your brother." What happens if you stick your tongue to some ice? I think it might get stuck, huh? Once in a while, someone was taken. Where'd Cleo go? Gone to a better place, said Dad. They usually disappeared for a person's drink. To be chosen was the best thing that could happen to an ice cube. At least, that's what Ice Boy's parents said. They said, "Your great aunt was a cold compress. That's like an ice pack you put on a boo-boo." "Be proud," said Mom. But Ice Boy didn't want to be in a cold compress. He wanted more. Look how sad. How sad he is. So, even though Ice Boy's parents said never go outside, never ever go outside, Ice Boy went outside. Uh-oh. And even though his doctor said never go in the sun, never ever go in the sun, Ice Boy went in the sun. "Feels good," said Ice Boy. Can you guys imagine what would happen if ice went into the sun? There he is going outside. There he is going in the sun. He's sweating. He says, "Feels good." He's got his cute little, it looks like one of those umbrellas you put in your drink, huh? In fact, he even went to the beach. Ice Boy went up to the edge of the water and rolled right in. "Best day ever," he said. His edges began to blur. He was becoming... Uh-oh. Water Boy. What's happening? What's happening to our icy friend? "Ah, tastes salty," he said. Uh-oh. Water Boy washed in with the tide. "Hello there," he said. See him? Right there. He's now water. The seashore was full of life. "That tickles," said Water Boy. He turned into a wave. Off a big swell, that's a big bit of water that turns into a wave, he soaked someone's towel. "Fuzzy," he said. "Everybody grab something fuzzy." That's not super fuzzy. I tried. He basked in the sun until he began to steam. He was becoming... Da-da-da-da! Vapor Boy! Look at that. Now he's floating up into the air, right? Vapor is like steam, like when you boil water and that steam comes off of it. "Look at what I did," he said. Now he's a cloud. Cloud is made of water vapor. Vapor Boy was light as air. He wafted so high, pop! Everybody go ahead and poke this. Say, pop! He became a little drop. "Am I dense, or did I just become a liquid again?" asked Water Boy. He tap danced on top of a thunderstorm. "Tra-la, tra-la-la-la," he said. "I'm cold," until he froze. and he fell inside with a puff. Uh-oh, what's happening? A big storm was no place for a little piece of ice. Yipes, this is creepy, he said. Whoa, what was that? I'm melting! Crash went the thunder. I'm freezing. I want to go home, said Ice Boy. Boom went the thunder. He was becoming Ice Boy again, whizzing through the sky in a summer hail. Hey, I can see my house from here, he yelled. Maybe I'll surprise Mom and Dad. I hope they still remember me, he said. There he goes, falling back towards his home. Then, oof, he hit the roof. Everybody give me an oof. And plink, he landed in a drink. Would you put ice in this kind of cup? No, maybe a glass, right? Or a cup, that's a mug. And bloop, there he goes, splash right into that glass, that drink. And guess who were there? I'll give you guys a minute. Think on it. Who do you think was in that cup? What other characters did we meet in this story? Give it a good think. Ready? Okay. His parents were there! Ta-da! Said Ice Boy. Clatter, clatter, said the ice. Ice Boy, is that you, they asked. Yes, said Ice Boy, it is me. They floated together for a while. This is Fizzy, said Ice Boy. Oh, Ice Boy, you're a sight for sore ice, said his mother. Or his father, I guess. That's his mustache, huh? I'm sorry I ran away, said Ice Boy. I didn't want to be chosen. Was he scared of being chosen? I think so. Just then, the drink was lifted high in the air. Luckily, the person tasted Ice Boy first. Blah! He said, this ice tastes terrible. And he dumped them out. We're free, they yelled. They landed in the grass. What will become of us, said his parents. Where will we go now? What will we do? Let's find out, said Ice Boy. What do you think's going to happen? They flew out of the house. There they are, flying into the sky. Mom said, this tickles. Dad said, feels good. And Ice Boy said, best day ever. Oh, Karen thinks it's the best day ever, too. Do you want to say hi? Do you want to say hi? Go ahead, say hi. There's Karen. She enjoyed the story. She wanted to have her 2 cents before we ended the story. So I hope you guys enjoyed that short, quick book. Again, that was called Ice Boy by David Ezra Stein. I really love that story, and I love the illustrations. And that ties perfectly into our art projects for today. We are going to be doing Icy Art. So we're going to explore how to use ice in your art projects, and then we're going to explore what happens to ice when you melt it and make art with it. So I hope you guys stick along, get ready to have some fun, and make sure that you have some empty ice cube trays on hand. You might want 1 or 2 that are completely empty, and then 1 ice tray that you might just make some regular ice in and reserve it for art projects. You might also want some table salt. That's helpful. You might also want some paint brushes, just in case you feel like using that to spread around some of the melted ice cubes, okay? You also want to make sure that you completely cover over your workspace with either a plastic tablecloth, some ripped open garbage bags, some big garbage bags, just to make sure that you're not getting water everywhere. If you can do it outside, absolutely 100% do this project outside, okay? Because I don't want any good stuff getting ruined inside, and I don't want it to be a crazy big cleanup, Again, you can do it inside. Just make sure that you're covering your workspace with a plastic wipeable or disposable item, okay? Cover. So, all right. And Karen is just so excited to say hi to you guys. Look at her. Look at her. She is just so excited. She wants to make some ice art. Karen likes playing with ice. She's like a puppy dog. All right, guys, stay tuned and we will get right into the projects. Thanks. All right, friends, so here I'm going to show you what exactly I'm using as my canvas today. If you would like to use actual canvas, you absolutely can. Just make sure it's primed so that you can keep it and hang it, or whatever you would like to do with it. Put it on the refrigerator. You can totally do that with some canvas. Just stick some magnets on the back of a smaller piece, or make a piece of art out of the entire refrigerator with a big piece of canvas and just use some magnets. Hot glue those to the back and stick them to the side of your refrigerator. That might be kind of cool. I'm going to use an old large picture frame that I have popped the back out of. So I'm going to be doing this project directly onto a piece of glass inside of a picture frame. Now the reason I'm doing this is because it's wipeable and it makes a really great reusable art surface for children, especially if you're doing process art or sensory based art. Since this is sensory based and it's a very messy project, I want to use a very wipeable surface. So I'm going to use, again, a picture frame with the back popped out, so it's basically just the frame with the glass insert, and then I just have it stacked on top of a canvas just so that you guys can have that white background to see our colors. Because my floor is brown, and brown added to a bunch of these colors looks a little bit wonky, so I wanted you guys to get a good visual. Again, you could just use a straight canvas outside in the grass, lay some plastic bags down, do it that way to protect your floor inside if you can't go outside like me. Or, let's see here, you can use a whiteboard. You could do this on a wooden panel if you really wanted to, however you see fit. But I think canvas and paper are probably the two most popular. So without further ado, here we go. And checking out my little setup here. She's going to check out our ice cubes. I'm going to show you what I did here. So, Karen, do you want to show them what our ice cubes are? She's checking them out. She thinks they're pretty cool. Alright, so this one right here, I know it looks like our ice cubes are blue. They are not. That is just the ice cube maker, the ice cube tray. Some of these are partially wet still, and some of them are actually melted. I did that on purpose. So you guys might want to do a partially melted tray or a full tray. I just wanted to experiment with partially melted ice cubes to see how we go there. She is very interested in this. Excuse her her interruption. And then right over here, I have just made ice cubes. When I made these, I just put the water straight into the ice cube tray, and then I dropped some food coloring into each little cube. So we'll have multicolored ice cubes. Now, this is the easiest way to do it. I absolutely love messing with this. Karen is eating our art project. Karen, can you please refrain from eating our material? Karen, you cannot eat the art medium. She thinks she can. Okay, there she goes. She's distracted. Alright, so we have some blues, we've got some pinks and some purples, and I think we have some greenish colors. I believe that's what those are. It looks like it, but there we go. So go ahead and write in the comments below what colors you think these are before we pop them out. I'm going to go ahead and grab a large bowl to put my ice cubes in, and we will get painting. Here's my little stainless steel bowl. You can use whatever you'd like. I thought this would be kind of cool because we'll see the frost develop on the outside of the bowl because ice. So I'm going to go ahead and pop these in real quick, and then we'll be back to make our art. Another little side note before we get sliding. I used food coloring. If you use food coloring, make sure you're wearing old shirts that you don't care that get stained, because your hands will absolutely get stained. Your surfaces will get stained. So if you have tempera or acrylic paint to mix into these cubes, that could be a little bit more washable. Or you could wear gloves and just make sure you're wearing old clothing that you don't care that gets all stained up. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, I have my orange here, and I have some of these blue aqua ones here. I absolutely love these colors. As you can see, as they melt, that liquid really turns color. So I'm going to use this because I don't want my hands to get all stained up. And I'm just going to like push the ice cube. And if you want it to melt in certain areas, you just let it sit for a little bit longer. Okay, here we have my little teal color. You can see Karen up here waving her tail. If I had a hair dryer, I would maybe hold the hair dryer over the ice cube in certain areas just to make sure that it's melting properly in certain areas where I would want it to. Okay, now if this was on paper, it's definitely going to be more vibrant, because as you can see here, I was holding this paper towel on it for maybe a minute to push around the ice cube, and look at all that beautiful vibrant color. So I'm actually going to show you that in a minute. This is just one method of icy art. Okay, so I'm just going to let that ice cube sit right there. Okay, Karen's going to check it out again because she is just so flabbergasted with it. No, oh, Karen, you're going to end up with a blue nose. You are. Alright, so that is one method to ice painting, is just putting this on a wipeable surface, pushing it around, having fun. I love it. Look at that go. It's like ice hockey. Wow. Or I guess air hockey, it just floats. You could play an entire game with this, make ice hockey art. Just kind of push it around and have fun. Alright, there's one example. And now we're going to move on to using an actual piece of paper. I have some paper. This is a thicker paper, but you can use whatever you have on hand. I'm going to go ahead and press it onto what I've done here. So I'm going to press, 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 press. Karen's going to end up with a dyed tail because she just keeps swiping it back and forth. So then I'm going to lift up my paper, and there we have it. Look how cool that is. And there's cat hair and everything. I am sorry about that, friends. So that's one way of doing it. You can stamp with it, or you can actually, here, I'm just going to stick this down. You can actually put the ice onto the paper and let it melt, or just kind of push it around like that. Okay, and that will get you another version of ice art on your paper. You can totally put more food coloring or more paint into your ice cubes before you freeze them, and I think that would really help. Another method of doing this is to let it melt and then just kind of pour it on top. Look at that. Oh, crazy messy. Very messy. And then just whoop, let it drip. Okay? Karen, what's happening? So there's another way to do it, and you would just let it dry. You could use this, write a quote on top, frame it. You could just use it as artwork to put on the fridge, frame it. Anything. I think that's super fun. Alright, super easy. Just putting the food coloring in the bottom of the ice cube tray, and then filling it with water and putting it into the freezer and waiting until it's frozen, and then just having an awesome activity that you can turn into an art project. Alright, so there's one way of doing icy art. The next way is just going to use regular ice cubes. They have not been colored at all. So I'm going to wipe down my surface, and then I'll show you exactly how to do that. as you can see here, the liquid that I poured, the melted ice that I poured on top of this turned out really cool and really bright. And there's the back that we printed. And Karen's messing around with my colored paper towel. We'll unravel that later and see how that turned out too. Okay, so here's my clean workspace. I just wiped it down with a paper towel. Okay, here's a new piece of paper. For this version of the Icy Art, you'll want to use some sea salt, alright, or some table salt, whatever you have on hand. Table salt actually probably works better. The sea salt is just kind of larger chunks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of my colored ice cubes and I'm going to go ahead and put them on this piece of paper, and then I'm going to sprinkle some salt on top of them. And what salt does is it lowers the freezing temperature of ice and it helps it melt. So if you think about putting salt out on the ice and the snow outside when it's wintertime to make sure that you can get out of your driveway and down the road, this will act the same exact way. So I'm going to go ahead and take some ice cubes. Alright, I'm going to use a purple one this time because I want to. There's a purple, and then there's this reddish pink color. I really like those. And you know what? For good measure, why don't we pick this color? There we go. We got some really pretty colors. And then I'm going to coat them in some salt. There we go. And I'm going to kind of sprinkle some on the outside too to see what happens. Okay, so there we go. You see what's happening? We're actually making art with the salt now. It's making almost like a colored sand. I absolutely love that. I think that's so cool. But as you can see there, it's starting to eat away at the ice cube. It's not the perfect cube shape that we know and love from our ice cube trays. Now we're starting to shift into weird shapes. Look how vibrant that is, though. You might want to kind of move the paper a little bit to get your paint, your ice paint, to go in certain directions. Okay? I want some more of this teal to come out. Oh, now I'm mixing. Look at that. Did you see what happened? Look at that. That's so cool. We made like a purple. That's awesome. See what happens when you just experiment with your art projects? Some cool stuff, huh? So now I'm going to try to get some of this into the purple because I want to make that kind of color. And that's what we get from mixing the purple and the bluish color. You see it spreading through that salt. It's pretty awesome. So we're just going to let that melt a little bit more. Okay. You guys can go ahead and start making your ice while I'm doing this if you would like to, if you have not already made some. Okay, this one's a fun one to do outside in the sunshine too because it melts it even faster. You can make this into a little bit of a science experiment if you'd really like to. I'm going to go ahead and waste some more salt. Kids, do not waste the salt. You know, respect what your parents want. So if they don't want you to use an entire thing of salt, then make sure you're just sprinkling it, okay? Sprinkles are good. Think of it like fairy dust. Like Tinkerbell. Alright, there we go. Do do do. You might sing a little song while you're waiting for your ice to melt. Ignore my awful singing voice. Look at all of that. Oh, I'm in love with the colors. Alright. So then, if you're feeling it, you might move them. Okay, so I'm going to bring some more red over there. That reddy pink color. There we are. And then I'm going to use some more salt, which I probably shouldn't, but you know. Maybe experiment by putting your breath on it and seeing if that melts it any faster. Do you think that'll work? Should I try it? I'll try it. It didn't do anything. I tried. Kids, you could try that at home, but I don't suggest doing it for long because you'll end up dizzy. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove that. There you go. Okay. I've waited long enough, I think. Do you see what happened to that? This is all salt. None of that is ice. So you can go ahead and flip it if you want. I'm kind of mixing if you want. I'm going to go ahead and mix it into some of that red. There we go. And then I'm going to pour it off, okay? Now, this is my favorite of the three techniques because it adds like a texture, okay? So then what you're going to do is, because you can't get all of the salt off now, you're going to wait for this to dry, and then you're going to brush off the salt particles and you'll see what's left. I think this is, again, this is my all-time favorite of the three methods, and you end up with an awesome piece of process art that you can take as long as you would like with, and then frame it. Like, it ends up so pretty that you can usually end up framing it as a piece of like fine art, I think. I think all the art you guys make is fine art, okay? That just means really fancy, great art that you would buy to put in your home and admire forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Alright, so there's the salt technique. So now we're going to go ahead and go into one using regular, not colored ice. Alright, so for our last one, I have another sheet of paper, okay? As you can see, our salt over here is drying a little bit, especially around the edges. Well, that's still very, very wet and saturated, but we've got some stuff around the edges starting to dry. Alright, so over here we have a regular piece of paper. We have our ice cubes. Alright, these are our uncolored ones, so I'm going to go ahead and take a few out. Okay, now this one's fun. You can do it with or without the paper underneath if you would just like an art activity, an art-based activity, and not have a finished piece of art afterwards. Like I said, just do it without the paper. Do it on a wipeable surface, do it in the grass, do it in the driveway, however you want to do it. Okay, so I'm going to put on a few pieces of the ice because I want it to be cool. Because we've used very few pieces of ice. So you know what? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pop them out like that. There we go. That makes much more sense. Flipped it over and I popped them out that way. Okay, so here we have some ice, okay? Now here I have some watercolor. You probably don't have watercolor that comes in these little, oh, that's oil paint, we don't want that. You might not have watercolor that comes in these little tubes, you probably just have the tray. That is even better because it's more liquidy. This is acrylic paint right here, and here we have food coloring. I'm going to go ahead and use one of each to show you how it works. So here we have the acrylic paint. I'm going to go ahead and squirt some on top of the ice, or rather beside it, I guess. Alright, I'm going to take some of my watercolor. Maybe. I got to put my phone down for a second. I'm still with you guys. Okay, I got the cap off. I'm just going to use this red color. I'm going to squeeze some of that on top, like so. You might put it underneath for the sake of sliding it around. I can't get that cap back on. And then I'm going to use some orange because orange is fun. This is the food coloring. So I'm going to go ahead and put some of the orange food coloring. You can paint your ice. Personally, I think this is super cool. This is gel food coloring, so then it does this really cool marbling thing right there, if you can see that. Alright, so now I'm going to touch this with my hands because acrylic paint is much easier to get off your hands than food coloring. I'm just going to slide it around. And as you can see, it's making these really cool textures. That is the acrylic paint. Okay, so for the watercolor, I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to use the ice cube as the paintbrush. So there you see, I have like a chunk of the watercolor. Alright, and over here, we have a trail of the orange. Okay, and you can kind of slip slide everything around your canvas. I really like the way that looks at the top, so I'm going to keep that. And then I'm just going to push all the ice off the page, like so, and drain the rest of it, like so. And there we have, excuse the dogs barking in the neighborhood, there we have a really interesting piece of artwork. So that might be a way that you attempt this. I think this is a super fun way to do it, very cool, very abstract, so nobody will ever make a piece of artwork like what you can make with this. You don't have to use all three types of the paint that I used. I just wanted to show you examples of each. Again, there was watercolor, which is that reddish pink color. The food coloring is the orange, which happened to work the best for getting a vibrant, bright color. And then this aqua was acrylic, which I really liked for the texture because look at all those cool speckles. I don't know, it looks like a wall of a building in maybe like Tuscany or something. I think that's really cool. So see what you can come up with that. So that's just using the clear ice. Karen's very interested in the birds outside. Karen, do you want to say hi to your friends? She's being rude, excuse her. Alright, so there we have the third way of doing icy art. So then, I'm just going to come back and show you what's going on over here. And again, you can just kind of brush off the salt. It's not completely dry right now, but as you brush it off, you can see the colors stick to the paper. So once it's completely dry, you'll just go ahead and scrape off all that additional salt, okay? And then you'll end up with a really awesome piece of watercolor looking artwork. And here is our colorful paper towel that we used to push around our ice. I really think that this came out neat. Look at all those colors, it's like tie-dye. So that's something you can do too. You can totally just use some paper towels to push around your ice cubes and make a separate piece of artwork out of this. Once this dries, you can make flowers out of it, try some origami with it, you might cut it and frame it, use it as a background for another art project, use it for some scrapbooking once it's dry. You can do all kinds of fun stuff. So there we have it. We have our awesome icy art techniques. Again, this is very sensory. You can use this for toddlers to do a sensory play activity. Again, if you want it to be more washable, just go ahead and use washable tempera paint to mix into your ice cubes instead. They might just need a little bit longer in the freezer, so you might want to do it at night and let them freeze overnight. So you should be able to use them the next morning. And then it's really great for school-aged kids as well, preschool and school-aged kids. So I hope you had fun watching this icy art 3 ways. You can also use this salt on your watercolor paintings. I'm sure you guys have seen that watercolor salt paintings. Those are really, really awesome. The salt just adds a really cool speckled texture to your artwork. So go ahead and try that out too. If you guys do this fun project, any of these versions, go ahead and send us your results, your artwork, to our email, and would love to see what you did with it. So you guys have an excellent day. I'm so happy you joined me today, and I'm going to go ahead and clean up this mess now because it is very, very messy. Alright, I'll see you guys next time.